I'm not used to doing these online. Sounds good. Thank you.
Hello, hello.
Hello,
Welcome
Tony.
back. We should start coming in soon. Get my camera on to greet everybody as they come in. How y'all doing today? Pretty good? Perfect. I'll let you guys control the screen so you can present your screen. Or if you want me to present, I can do that as well. So just let me know what you would want to do.
I'm fine with presenting for
Okay.
us. And y'all can keep me on track if it's not working for some reason.
All right.
Testing, 1, 2, 3.
Perfect.
I would sing, but I'm not being paid.
Councilmember Pacheco, your mic is off.
You might appreciate that.
No, I would never.
Oh man,
Hey, Anita.
get these weird things on here. Okay, I'm okay.
It's raining
right.
outside now.
All right. Oh yeah, 6 o'clock is supposed to start.
Yep, it's right on time.
So let's
Hey,
see.
Councilmember Tony Carter.
How you doing today, Councilmember Carter? I think our
Hey,
mic is
Councilmember
off.
Osmond.
So 6:15, 25.
And Tori, you're keeping track of the quorum here?
Mm-hmm. We need 6 to make quorum. We have a total of 10 members at the moment, and we just recruited 2 members. So
Okay.
hopefully 12 next month. And then we'll start back recruitment soon. Hey, Carmian.
Hello.
We can start at about, we have both co-chairs here, so you guys can go ahead and get started with the meeting.
All right. Thank you, and I'll start the meeting, and our co-chair, Carmian, will follow up. First of all, my name is John Pacheco. And we appreciate your participation. For those watching remotely, we are streaming live on YouTube, and our meetings take place every third Tuesday of the month from 6 to 8. And at this time, I read a Dakota Land, Water, and People acknowledgement. This is an acknowledgement that we have at our council members on a regular basis. So it's optional, but we, as being the Equity Advisory Committee, participate full-heartedly. So with that, the Metropolitan Council acknowledges that the land we currently call Minnesota, and specifically the 7-county region, is the ancestral home of the Dakota Oyote, who are present and active contributors to our thriving region. As part of the Metropolitan Council's commitment to address the unresolved legacy of genocide, dispossession, and settler colonialism, the fact that government institutions, including the Metropolitan Council, has benefited economically, politically, institutionally, and for the foreseeable forceful removal of the Dakota Ayote. The Metropolitan Council is dedicated to instilling land, water, and people commitments in the region's policies. These commitments support the Dakota Ayote and even in 11 federally recognized tribes as in the Ho-Chunk Nation and the American Indian. That's it. All right. So at this point, we're called a roll call, or we're called a verification of our quorum as outlined in our bylaws, and so
Right.
Tori, are we at the do we have quorum?
Do we have quorum? So I just want to call roll call and then we'll figure it out. So Zachariah Abdullahi, Councilmember Tony Carter,
Here.
Councilmember Dr. Tyrone Carter, Carmianne Foster, Mitchell Hanson, Tamara Icy,
Here.
Mike Lucini, Councilmember Yasmin Osman, Yassine
Here.
Osman.
Here.
Councilmember John Pacheco,
Here.
and Anita Davis. Yep, Anita's here. We do have quorum at the moment, so
Okay.
you can proceed.
Okay, with the quorum established, we will now move into the approval of the previous meeting's minutes. But before that, does anyone have any corrections or additions to the attendance record or to the quorum stated? Seeing none, and having a quorum is established, we'll now move to improving the agenda. So I will entertain a motion to approve the agenda as listed in our materials and as was sent out previous to this meeting.
Motion.
Okay, it's motion by Dr. Carter, second by Councilmember Yasin. All in favor? All right. Thanks. All right, now we're continuing to move on here. It's been, all right, we already voted on it, so. And now we need to vote on the last meeting, I believe. We have quorum, we have the agenda. Trying to- All right, I think we've covered what we need to cover there. The next order of business is approval of the minutes from the last meeting in June. Draft minutes were distributed via email and are included in your handouts. Are there any corrections or additions to the minutes? Seeing none or hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes as presented. Okay, motion was made by Councilmember Carter. Councilmember Carter, you're also on mute.
Am I still?
You?
Oh, there you
So
go.
moved.
Yeah, there's a second. I didn't catch somebody. Yasin? All right. So it's been made and second. All in favor?
Aye.
All
Aye.
right. Opposed? No. Abstentions? All right. Listen. All right. Now that this point in the agenda here, we do provide an opportunity for the public to make comments or address issues that they think that would be important for us to hear. They will have 3 minutes to share their comments. Is there anyone present or online who has registered to speak during this public comment? Seeing no one registered to speak, and we will now proceed to the next item on the agenda. And that is our agenda tonight, our presentation and presenter. Carmianne will take over here and move along down our script here.
Thank you. So we will now be having a presentation on the housing policy plan. For this segment, we're pleased to welcome Sarah Berkey, Senior Manager for Livable Communities and Housing. I do apologize, ladies, if I pronounce your names incorrectly. We'll also welcome Maya Guerrero Combs, Planning Analyst for Housing, who will present on these topics. Each presenter has 20 to 30 minutes, depending on the needs of their presentations. Following the presentations, we'll have time for our committee members to ask questions and to engage in discussion. So I do ask that everybody holds their questions until that time. So just 2 reminders before we begin. For the records, presenters, please state your names with the proper pronunciations. Again, I apologize. And the title of your presentations when you start. And then again, committee members, please write down your questions so that we can have a robust conversation after. With that, the floor is yours.
All right, thank you so much, members of the committee and chair. We're really grateful to be here and to have the chance to talk with you tonight and to share about the housing policy plan. My name, for the record, is Sarah Berkey. You pronounced it perfectly. Thank you. And I'm the Senior Manager for Housing and Livable Communities. I actually have 2 colleagues here and we'll be presenting together this evening. Olivia, will you introduce yourself, please?
Sure thing. Good evening, everyone. My name is Olivia Bershinger. I am a senior planner with the Housing and Livable Communities team, presenting with my colleagues here.
Maya.
Great. My name is Maya Guerrero Combs. You did a great job on the pronunciation, and I am a planning analyst with the housing team here at the Met Council.
So we did prepare some slides and we'll walk through them. As I mentioned, the focus tonight is really the housing policy plan, which is part of the Imagine 2050 plan for the region, and really focusing on where are the equity goals included in that plan and where are we looking for partnerships as we start to help to implement and to help advance these goals. So some of you on this committee are very familiar with our work, serve on the Community Development Committee of the Council that we work with closely, and some of you I don't think we've had the chance to meet yet. So we'll try to start at a basic level without getting into too much detail about anything at the start. Just some basic introduction to kind of what is our team, who are we, why are we here, what do we do? How do we fit within the council as a whole and this comprehensive planning cycle that the Met Council is responsible for in our Twin Cities region. Briefly, a little bit about the Imagine 2050 Regional Development Guide that was approved earlier this year, and the Housing Policy Plan chapter, our very favorite chapter of that plan, and how that relates to all of the Met Council's roles in housing, as well as really how we got to the plan in the first place, the kind of engagement we've done to date, the kinds of policies and actions we have in the plan, and partnership actions, and hopefully would love to have some discussion with all of you about where we can go deeper and further with that part of our plan, as well as any other questions you have or other thoughts. So here's where we come from, where we sit within the council. We're in the Community Development Division, which is the division primarily responsible for pulling the full Imagine 2050 plan together, although we work with many other colleagues in other divisions. We are the Housing Policy and Livable Communities team. There are about 10 of us on our team, so you have about a third of us here tonight. We run the Livable Communities Act grant programs, which is around incentivizing housing policy alignment across the region and investing in projects that help advance regional development goals. And we also spend a lot of our time on what we're here to talk about tonight, which is housing policy planning. Really writing the chapter of the housing policy plan that you can now read, that we're in the process of publishing more broadly right now, and also focusing on working with communities to implement housing policy plans and to connect what's going on locally to regional, the regional housing picture, the needs that we have, and the policy goals that we have as a whole region together. So earlier this year, as many of you already know well, we adopted the Imagine 2050 plan, which is the new regional development guide for our next 10-year cycle. And this is an ongoing 10-year cycle that the council does. And every time we do it, we learn something. We do it a little differently, but it is very cyclical and there's a process here. So right now, we're at the part of the process where each of the 181 local municipalities in our region will start to get guidance from the council about regional goals so that they can develop their own local comprehensive plans. And then we can make sure that they all coordinate together and make sense together as a region. So each of the cities and townships in our region will be doing that work over the next few years. We're also still implementing the Thrive 2040 plan, which includes a lot of housing policy plan elements that relate to what's going on in this decade. The housing policy plan chapter of the Thrive 2040 plan was the first standalone housing policy plan that the council had done in many decades. It was very well received in that we were asked to do it again and really see housing as a much more integrated part of the regional development guide in this cycle than perhaps in recent decades before that. And the regional vision for Imagine 2050 is a prosperous, equitable, and resilient region with abundant opportunities for all to live, work, play, and thrive. That's across the whole plan. Specific to the housing policy chapter, we have a core statement that guides our work there, that the right to housing is a foundation for health, social, and economic well-being. The Imagine 2050 Housing Policy Plan guides the region to create safe, dignified, and affordable homes that give all residents a choice of where to live. So this really goes beyond the topic of just housing supply and quantifying how many homes we need in what places. It focuses on meeting the needs of residents of the region. So that's the affordability, the stability, quality, ownership opportunities, meaningful choices, environmental justice, and a connection to cultural and neighborhood amenities. So thinking about housing as more than a housing unit and really a home. And thinking about people and not just units. So I'll wrap up kind of my introduction to what this plan is, and then Maya and Olivia will go into more depth in terms of the actual content of the plan here. Just wanted to give you a sense of how this planning effort fits within the broader set of things that the Met Council does related to housing. Our housing policy plan incorporates policies and actions that help guide everything else that the housing touches at the council, that the council touches with housing as part of a consistent vision and approach. And so that includes not just this planning effort and how cities do their local comprehensive planning and implementation, but also the work that the Metro HRA does, to provide direct rental assistance to low-income households in the region. We try to be coordinated and have common goals and some common alignment of our actions there with them as well. With the data and analysis that our research colleagues do to try to understand housing trends and inform policy. And then the planning stuff that we do more directly, which includes defining the share of the overall region's need for affordable housing that each local government is responsible for and can plan for in their own coming decades. And looking at their comprehensive plans, making sure there's alignment, and then incentivizing and supporting the development of housing through our Livable Communities Act programs. So there are many different wide-ranging Met Council roles in housing. Happy to answer more questions or give you more detail about any of that. But overall, what we're trying to do with our plan is to make sure that they are a coordinated effort and that we're moving as kind of one regional planning entity and implementation entity with common goals. With that, I'll turn it over to Olivia.
Yes, thank you. So getting back to how we prepared to draft the housing policy plan, as Sarah mentioned, we really wanted to put a kind of people forward, individual forward focus on this, rather than only talking about units or policy in that way. So through the summer and fall of 2023, which is hard to imagine being back so far already, our housing staff, in addition to other community development staff, worked extensively and were out in community meeting with community members all across the region. Housing specifically, we held over a dozen individual community engagement events out throughout the region and had representation from each and every county in our region. And we used the resident perspectives that were shared with us through engagement to really shape and give structure to our chapter topics and objectives that would ultimately come forward in the housing policy plan. So we really recognize that the housing policy plan needs to be meaningful for residents to in the region for communities to respond to it well. So you'll see in our first column on the left, we took all of our notes, our experiences, from the community engagement, and we're able to come up with themes that kind of rose to the top. So we have autonomy and choice, proximity, dignity, safety, and connectedness and well-being. To give a little more context to those, when we talk about proximity, we're sharing that the region is diverse and our residents expect amenities like opportunities to live near shopping, nature, health needs, grocery needs, and reliable transit. Talking about autonomy and choice, one thing that came up was ownership opportunities are important, but not always as important as having the choice of where to live or finding housing that meets their household needs. When we talk about dignity, really focusing on stability. So stability in housing is crucial, is paramount to being able to build community, while instability can lead to feelings of exclusion or isolation, or even just people experiencing instability was like a common story that was shared with us. Safety is addressing safety both in the home, so the quality of housing that someone is living in, as well as safety in a neighborhood or community, both physical safety and perceived safety. And then the connectedness and well-being talks about, or folks talked a lot about feeling welcome, feeling connected to their neighbors, feeling connected to different resources in their community, having access to resources in their community, as well as this is where areas and topics of equity and environmental justice. So concerns about the future of housing, the future of our communities, and where folks live, work, and play. So again, these engagement themes helped us shape our larger section or chapter topics, and then ultimately guided our objectives. So if we can go to the next slide that talks a little bit more about our objectives. There we go. Thank you. And so again, starting with these themes and topics that came out of engagement, the plan, the HPP developed these 3 sections with the 7 focused objectives and then coordinating policies. So the autonomy and choice shaped into fair housing and geographic choice, people regardless of ability, age, financial status, race, and family size can live in a community that they choose. Also in this section is options to own and rent. Rental and ownership options are available to all households regardless of income. We have our second section of dignity and safety. So again, that's where we're talking about quality, affordable housing built to a high standard, maintained and safe and accessible for all residents. Stability, so stable, affordable, dignified places to live are available for everyone, especially those experiencing housing insecurity and homelessness. And then our third section, connection and well-being. Cultural connection and well-being. Everyone has access to homes, not just housing. Again, having a place where they feel welcome, feel a sense of belonging, feel integrated in community. Equity, repair historic and ongoing injustice in housing practices and outcomes. And then finally, environmental justice. Housing in our region is resilient to climate change, impacts and furthers environmental justice. Within each of these objectives, we have different policies and actions. And so I will turn it over to Maya to talk about how the plan is structured and some of the actions and policies that go with these objectives.
Great, thank you, Olivia. So we have our really great 7 objectives that are rooted in the engagement and the experiences of residents in our region, but we need our actions to get there. And so within the housing policy plan, we've sorted under each objective, those 7 that you just saw, actions into 3 categories: provide, plan, and partner. And so provide actions are going to be centered around state statute or federal assistance like vouchers or our development grants to the Livable Communities Grant Program, which I know some of you are familiar with. It'll also be about what data and research we provide, what communication tools, what technical assistance do we have for cities are all going to be represented in that provide section. The plan section is deeply rooted in our Met Council role of reviewing comprehensive plans. So these are specific actions that we will be requiring for cities and townships for them to have in their housing portion of their comprehensive plans when they draft up their 2050 comprehensive plan. And then the partner section is something that we really robustly elevated from the 2040 plan. We know that this isn't going to be solved by the Met Council, right? A lot of the housing issues that we see, a lot of those themes that we saw in engagement are things that are going to need a lot of cooperation and going to need a lot of work across a lot of different types of housing advocates and funders. And so we really wanted to commit to a lot of partner actions where we're reaching out to see what other people are doing. We're flexing our convening powers to get people in the same room to really talk about these large issues that we know are emerging or are here or are emerging and we'll see more of in the future. And so our partner actions are really centered around building more affordable and accessible housing. How are we going to develop across the region in partnership with other housing organizations? Reaching out to the Minnesota Housing, right? They're one of the largest funders of affordable housing. How are we coordinating with them and other community organizations or nonprofits? So with that, we really wanted to bring the partner actions to this group. We know that a lot of the members of this committee are deeply rooted in the community. And sorry, can we go to the next slide, Sarah? I was getting ahead. So we know that this group is really deeply rooted in community and you're part of those efforts and you know a lot about these problems. And so knowing that this partner section and actions are relatively new for the housing policy plan here at the Met Council, we wanted to bring forth some of the actions that are in the housing policy plan under that partner section and then open it up for discussion. And so I'll read a few from each objective that we have that we'd love your reflection on. The first being under the fair housing and geographic choice is we've committed to explore opportunities to partner at the federal, state, and local level to advance the evolution of affordability standards to be more reflective of resident experience. We know that when we talk about affordable housing, there's a disconnect. We don't always know there's not always an understanding of how affordability limits or rent limits translate to how people live their lives. And so being a part of that discussion is something that we want to partner with others in the region. Under options to own and rent, we want to increase collaboration with local and county housing organizations to prioritize and fund programs that increase through development or preservation all affordable housing tenures. And tenures here means rental housing, cooperative housing, limited and our full home ownership housing. So we know that there's a gap of home ownership opportunities to those that are ready for them or that need them. And we know that home ownership opportunities are getting more and more expensive. And so how can we increase our collaboration and partner with a lot of other funders to increase these affordable home ownership opportunities as well as rental or cooperative opportunities? Under quality, we want to partner with community organizations to develop resources and access to legal support when needed to ensure people have continued access to quality living environments. And this one really comes from the fact that a majority of the housing units in the region, affordable housing units in the region, are older units, right? And so they have maintenance issues, and there can be a lot of quality issues that tenants face when they're living in these affordable housing units. And how can we make sure that their rights are represented and they're connected to legal sources, and that they're ensuring that their landlords are taking care of those properties and making sure that those people are in a healthy living environment. And then second, partner with nonprofit providers to promote tenant and landlord rights and responsibilities and support renter initiatives. I think this dovetails really well with the action above it. That, how can we elevate a lot of the work that's being done from nonprofit organizations around this topic? Because we are a large organization, right? Can we support that with data? Can we support that with convening and getting a lot of people in the same room? We there's a lot I think that we can do with that. And then for stability, engage with people with lived experience of homelessness to guide Met Council policies, programs, and plans, and compensate participants who serve in a consulting role. We've made a commitment to increase the stability of safe and dignified housing in the region, and we can't do that without talking to people who've experienced this instability and knowing the pathways and the best ways for them to find a safe and dignified housing. And then the last three, we have environmental justice. So we want to integrate the Met Council's climate action work plan commitments and strategies into the housing policies and programming here at the Met Council. And then we want to explore opportunities to partner with organizations to further implement environmental justice efforts in housing policy and programming. We want to make sure that housing is resilient over time, and how can we partner with organizations to help get information out into the community about resilient housing for the future. Under equity, we have in all the Met Council's housing work, develop respectful and meaningful partnerships with tribal governments and organizations, housing advocacy groups, and homeless coalitions, particularly those that have a majority Black, American Indian, people of color, and low income representation. We really want to further the work that we started with the engagement around this housing policy plan and elevate the voices of those who haven't had historically and currently and ongoing have barriers to accessing housing, especially affordable and safe housing. And so how can we meaningfully develop partnerships and relationships with these groups? And then for cultural connections and well-being, continue our collaboration with the Blue Line Anti-Displacement Work Group, so continuing a lot of that work, and then engage with housing stakeholders such as neighborhood groups, nonprofits, and research organizations to align Met Council displacement risk assessment with other equity scorecards and anti-displacement tracking efforts around the region. And what this really means is that for the first time, the Met Council is really thinking about anti-displacement, but we're not the first in the region, right? There's a lot of other organizations that are doing this work. And so how can we make sure that we're aligning our efforts with theirs and not co-opting it or overshadowing it or, creating any tensions with any of the amazing work that's already being done around anti-displacement in the region?
And so that's what we had prepared as context for our work, and to just share with you what we're doing. We had some ideas of questions we wanted to ask you all. As we said, we welcome other questions as well. What should we do as the Met Council to be a good partner? With whom should we partner to advance our housing policy objectives that you just heard about? And then, what kind of partnerships do you know that cities need as they start to write those housing elements within their own 2050 plans?
Thank you so much for that thorough presentation. We'll now open the floor for questions that committee members might have, or any answers that you all have to the questions that were posed by the presenters. Online participants, please use the hand raise feature to indicate your desire to talk. Please limit follow-up so that we can hear from all the members, and we will open the floor now. I think I see it here. Councilmember Tony Carter, please go ahead.
Thank you. Thanks so much for the presentation. And yes, members on the call today who have participated in community development meetings have heard this presentation before, but there's always new learning that happens. So I'm glad to be a part of the call today and to be able to hear the presentation again. I did want to ask, I think back on slide 12 or so, there is a bullet that speaks to our need to collaborate with other organizations to ensure that we are able to increase, here it is, increase through development or preservation all affordable housing tenures. And that included rental and cooperative or limited and home ownership. And I wanted to ask about something we've been talking about a lot, and that is affordable home ownership, and to mention a dilemma that is occurring more and more frequently when seniors pass away and have been in multi-generational homes. Quite often, I have been seeing more and more that individuals who are living in those homes together with a senior who is lost become homeless or need to move away from that home for any number of reasons. It could be foreclosure, it could be forfeiture, tax forfeiture. But my sense is that in some cases where there is income and opportunity for those individuals to pick up on a mortgage that has been foreclosed on and pay, that opportunity can be lost sometimes because there are large sums owing, either on a mortgage and foreclosure or in a forfeiture circumstance, because things happen and sometimes people are not aware of what is happening in the finances of those seniors. My question, are we doing anything or considering our opportunity to partner with community organizations to help preserve those homes for the residents who are living there? I know there are not enough programs that provide the opportunity for those residents to remain in their homes, perhaps restructuring, perhaps being able to allow them to rent until they can buy back in some ways. I have been looking for programs that will help people in those circumstances. I know that this may not be something that the Metropolitan Council can develop a full-scale program to do, but is that an area that we have explored and or would be willing to explore, as there are entities in the community who want to develop that sort of program, but are looking for the partnerships that will enable them to support it? Long question about a big concern, and I'm wondering where to go on that, if there is any potential for Metropolitan Council to, with our funds, address that need.
Yeah, Olivia, Maya, or others, please chime in if you know more than I do, which is very possible. But thanks for that question, Councilmember Carter. I think that's really something we should look into and understand better. It'd be interesting to see what data is out there, if there is any, about kind of the scale of that particular kind of preservation issue and intergenerational family wealth preservation issue, right? I do know that, with our affordable homeownership program that we have, which is small, but we do provide some grants for affordable housing development and preservation. There are a lot of creative partners that we already work with that have received our grants, a lot of them in the community land trust space, for example. And so that might be a group of folks to tap for more insights about what's possible. Or,
I
some
would
of the
love
folks
to.
that were really focused on the foreclosure response a decade or so ago too might have some good ideas.
Well, I will keep my eyes open and look to make a connection so that we can have discussion about that. obtain some data and look to whether or not there are possibilities that we can participate in. Thank you.
Thank you. I don't see any hands at the moment, so I actually do have a question as well. Um, in looking at your presentation, one of your questions was how the Met Council can be a good partner. And I wonder what the Met Council has available now in terms of things like technical assistance or trainings. I know that some cities have emerging developer cohorts and different things that they're doing to equip community members to respond to the opportunities they're making available. And I wonder if the Met Council has anything of that sort in this space, or if there's been any consideration of creating something of that sort.
Yeah, I can answer that. Thank you for that question. So most of our technical assistance is geared towards city staff who implement programs at the local level. And one of the things that we are encouraging cities and other partners to do is participate in those educational programs or other types of programs. And we recently actually won a grant from HUD Pro. I'm sorry, you don't know what that is. From a federal grant to basically elevate the technical assistance that we're able to work one-on-one with cities or others on kind of how to implement a lot of different housing tools, whether that be policies, programs, education, tenant rights, things like that. And so part of that award has been we're basically doubling the capacity of the housing team here at the Met Council and adding some really great expertise. And we'll also be able to do a lot of one-on-one coordination and technical assistance with that added capacity, as well as additional subgrants that will be able to go out to cities in our region. Unfortunately, we can't grant anything directly to nonprofits. It does have to go through a city or township to develop programming and policies. And then, Sarah, did you want to jump in?
Sure. I'll just add that, in terms of specifically supporting emerging developers, developers who are new and starting a development project for the first time often are also great candidates for the pre-development grant program that we offer through our Livable Communities grant program. And I know we've worked and are still working to try to make sure our grant criteria encourage new entrants to the market and help them be successful.
Thank you so much. Councilmember Pacheco, I see your hand.
Now I gotta make sure my mic is off or on here. A couple questions. I really appreciate the presentation. Often you assume that all the council members would know these things. I'm not on the development committee, so I wouldn't know everything they're doing. So this has been very helpful for me as well. So just to let you know that it's something that we often, I get a lot of questions regarding the issue of housing and homelessness and the like. And so one of them that, and maybe you could explain to us a little bit, is how you work with the HAT team, the Homeless Action Team, because this is where the Met Council's policies really impact, and the actions and others impact, homelessness through transit, and where unfortunately a transit becomes a home. And so what are we doing, and where do you see us going in there? Because we talk about partnering with others as well. And I'd like, again, that one always seems to come up when we're looking at safety and other issues.
I can start to answer that at least, Councilmember Pacheco. Thank you. Yeah, the HAT team, the Homeless Action Team that Metro Transit Police leads, is just I think, a really well-regarded model for, how to connect people to services instead of taking a law enforcement approach to them as needed. And our team is connected with that work in the sense that we work closely together with that team on the statewide homelessness action plan. There's Crossroads Crossroads of Justice, I think it's called. I should look that up. But coordinating with all the state level agencies across the state of Minnesota and Metro Transit as a key partner and the council as a whole in making sure that all of our strategies to address homelessness are aligned, whether it's that, day-to-day interaction that transit police are having with folks on transit, or whether it's our work to encourage cities to really look at the needs that they haven't met yet, to build more housing that's accessible for people at very low incomes or that has supportive services as needed for people. So we do have a lot of coordination. At the same time, there's still a lot of work left to do. And I think a lot of the way that many of the programs to address homelessness in our region are structured is more at the county level or individual city level. There's a lot of jurisdictions involved. We do see the whole picture of how the region is connected, but not everyone sees that. And so we're kind of trying to figure out what is a role we can play, and does anyone want us to play a role in a regional approach to coordinating some of those responses? I will say that I'll just add the Metro HRA, which operates the rental assistance program, the Housing Choice Voucher, is really the core partner for the homelessness action team, especially when we have vouchers available more than we do right now. They've been able to just directly connect people who are riding transit and need a place to stay with, a housing voucher that can get them into a permanent and stable home. So that's a wonderful model where we've had the resources to do it.
All right. I see Mitchell, you have your hand raised.
Yeah, thank you so much for presenting. I know this is a very complicated and deep issue, especially with the current state of things. And I think one thing that I've noticed is that, it's often like politicized, right? I mean, I think we can all agree that we want everyone to have a place to live, and we don't want people being, shifted from place to place if they're homeless, or their items being bulldozed, or not having a place to do anything, like to store their stuff. And instead of it just being like, hey, we're all on the same page here, it seems to be like two different sects, and I don't understand that. And I feel like the Met Council has such an important role of just like setting a standard of being like, this is not okay, like this is acceptable. But I mean, it's just I just feel like just treating people like people, and in Minneapolis, obviously there's major issues going on with homelessness, and especially within our indigenous community. And I feel like, the homeless, the is it hat, right? The hat team, is that right? Like, is awesome, and I think it's amazing. But it's only as good as where they send those people and the services that those people get. So if they're going somewhere, and let's say that I'm addicted to fentanyl, if I go somewhere and I have a place to live, I still need support. I still need somewhere to go. I still need someone, like maybe I need to go there first, but I need that place to be waiting for me when I leave. And I have so many friends, and I'm like, sorry. Sorry. I see this every day. And I have friends who've passed away from this. I work with people today that are getting evicted. Been paying rent for 15 years on time, and then late one time, and a 70-year-old woman is going to get evicted from her place. Like that, I just don't understand. And it's just so important to me. It's like, as the policy making body, that like there just has to be some standard where like this just can't happen. Like we talk about the future all the time, and what it should look like, but we need to focus on the people right now. Like one of the women I work with is going to lose her home because her property taxes doubled. Her utilities are insane. She cannot pay them. Her benefits have been cut. Her health insurance, she's on a fixed income. She's going to be displaced. And there's nothing I can do. I used to be able to help them, and I can't anymore. And this is the first time I've cried in meetings. That's but it's really, I don't know what to do anymore. Like there's nothing for me to help them. And if the Met Council can do something to just set a standard of how we treat people and what's okay and was not okay, and how money is spent, oversight. There needs to be services. People who are not for profit need to be in there with licenses that are verified to say, hey, I got you. I have an eye on this. We need people to be there alongside. If you are for profit, you need to have someone embedded to look out for these people, because what I'm seeing is a lot of for-profit developers taking over and just sending out eviction notices left to right, and people are actually getting smart. They really, like, not that they weren't, but they understand everything now. They know their rights, and they're the ones saying this doesn't look right. And I think the Met Council just, I mean, we know that money is tight, but I think it's a good opportunity to say, hey, where is this money going? How is it being spent? If someone has a bad audit, let's look into that. Should we give them more money or should we not? And I know that's county level too, but, and I know it's city level, but it's been a long day for me. And when I saw the topic, I was like, I'm gonna cry. Like I already knew it. But I just really support your work, and I really hope that you can partner with people and just to hear what this is like on the ground. Because for us that see this every day, you can see what this looks like. It is tearing us apart, and it is not going well. And I think there's an opportunity here to just, it's either now or never. And I support your work, and I appreciate you. And sorry, I just cried in this live stream. That's what happened.
Thank you. I mean, it's real.
If I
Yeah.
could add, Sarah, or
Yeah.
chime in, first of all, I just want to appreciate or give thanks for you like sharing. I think it's important for all of us to always, like you see, hear the on the ground work. A lot of us in this field are, or especially on our team, we do, like you just called out, we look at the future, but we know that the needs are imminent now. I don't want to go too far away from the presentation, just being respectful of time. But I can tell you the Livable Communities Act, so the grants kind of portion of our team is continuing to see increasing interest and needs in this funding. So there are a lot of partners out there that are seeing this need and are doing what they can to get housing built, and especially in the realm of, like you said, embedded or like supportive services. So I think the kind of like housing development side of things is maybe lagging, but is catching up to that need that's there. And the funding that Maya indicated or mentioned, so the federal funding that HUD Pro, we're really hoping, in addition to technical assistance, can give our counties and communities and other partners some additional funding to create those programs locally, to create those policies that can make that difference now, not 20 years from now. And so give that kind of influx of funding. We often hear how short-strapped things are for funding with housing. And I think Minnesota, through the addition of the local, I'm going to forget the acronym now because I always call it the acronym, the local affordable housing account, which is a sales tax levy that goes to communities specifically for the dedication of affordable housing. I believe we're just coming up on the end of our first year of that. And then the addition of this HUD Pro funding, really hoping to see some influx into these programs. So folks and developers, those that are doing the on the ground work, we can continue to see units and support being built for that. So I don't know that there's one answer, but do know there's a lot of really good people doing really good work that are trying to make things easier in what is becoming an increasingly difficult time.
Thank you all for your thoughtful feedback and responses to those questions. I wonder, what I heard from Mitchell's comments was a lot of intersectionality. Sometimes systems like to silo issues and say, oh, well, this is our housing plan, so that's all we're going to talk about here. And I wonder, as you are partnering with the different cities and counties, if there could be some pushback to explore the intersectionality of the issues that are impacting their communities and some encouragement to address that intersectionality, right? If chemical use is greatly impacting housing issues, are there ways that we can make sure that data is being included in discussions around housing? When things like property taxes are pushing people out of their homes, are there ways that we can encourage those cross-departmental conversations so that, you know, those things are being thoughtfully considered in development of these plans? I've worked in counties before, and I know there's a lot of, this is my department, this is what I'm supposed to do, these are the questions on my report. But a lot of that information is available through public health and other areas. And if there's ways that we can encourage our systems decision makers to incorporate all that information as they're developing plans, I think that could be really helpful.
Yeah, thank you for that comment. I think that highlights an amazing strength that we have at the Met Council. You know, we don't develop housing. We are not, you know, we have our livable communities grants, but that's, you know, $29 million a year. That wouldn't even build a, you know, one building if you put it all in one pot. And so, but what our strength is acknowledging that intersectionality and framing these things that we're talking about today is regional issues, systemic issues. They don't end at a political line, right? These are issues that are throughout our region. And so I think as we do seek to partner and seek to talk to cities and counties, I think pushing that intersectionality should be our strength and something that we do focus on. For example, you know, stability is one of the objectives that we brought up into the 2050 housing policy plan. And you know, a lot of city feedback was we don't have housing instability. Only Minneapolis has housing instability. And we know that's not true, right? We know that instability starts a long way before you see someone out on the street. And so, so bringing that and we've elevated that so that every city in the region now has to address housing instability in their comprehensive plan. And I think, you know, the other thing I'm hearing is like funding decisions, right? We know that for-profit developers are getting a lot of funding. How can we make sure that not just our small grants, but other grants are getting stacked into those developments that are providing those supportive services, that are prioritizing community connection, that are prioritizing, you know, anti-displacement and a lot of the other programs that we want to push with cities. So yeah, I think one of the strengths that we have is communicating, framing, and providing data around these issues so that people see it as a regional issue, not just my city has this problem, my city has this problem, right? And so I just wanted to say I think that's a great point.
Thank you. Councilmember Carter, Tony Carter.
Thank you. There are a lot of issues, and I know that our team has been over a long period of time looking to what Met Council can do and applying resources to issue areas where affordable housing is concerned. I am thankful for the opportunity for Met Council to look deeper at what we can't solve and to reach out to others, because a number of the issues have been mentioned tonight. And of course, there are a number of people who have influence in these various areas and who can be called upon to be creative and to help resolve when people are at risk of losing housing or simply cannot be housed as they need to be. And so this area of partnership and collaboration is extremely important. I know that there are a number of organizations, and I would just ask if you would talk to how we have worked with those who have resources and or how we are positioned to work with those who are applying resources and creativity to the needs, the huge needs that we have across the metropolitan area for affordable housing, including home ownership. I think about organizations like the Family Housing Fund, the Land Bank, you know, of course, our community development organizations or I'm thinking of Rondo Land Trust, the Land Trust. I'm also thinking of a new organization as of the past few years, the Groundbreak Coalition, who has established affordable housing, including home ownership, as an area of focus for which they are coming together to draw financial institutions and national funders to collectively provide huge resources for three objectives: business ownership, affordable housing, and workforce, I believe. And so I'm wondering how we have been engaging with those organizations in the past. And if you could talk a little bit, whether we have or have not, to how we are positioning to be able to do so in coming years. As a convener, using our convening power at the Metropolitan Council to focus our joint attention together with selected partners from our area. Is that something I could ask you to just talk a little bit about so that we can understand how we might be moving more in that direction as a convener?
I can
Yeah.
start.
Okay.
Thanks,
I'm
Councilmember
sorry.
Carter. Yeah, I mean, you named some really great organizations that we have either a track record of partnering with or current partnerships that have changed and evolved over time too. We're sharing some of our local housing policy data back and forth with Family Housing Fund, comparing notes, working on a tool that they're launching and updating to just better inform local policymakers. Working with the Rondo Land Trust has been a recipient of a couple of our home ownership development awards now. And the Groundbreak Coalition, yes, we are involved in that. I get to serve on the home ownership committee for that, and I'm really excited about the work happening there. So we have a lot of relationships ongoing, but with this new plan launching, we do really want to be strategic and thoughtful about kind of where we're engaging now and where we need to engage more and kind of how we should show up. And and the really exciting part of the grant we received from HUD that Olivia mentioned is that it's giving us some capacity that's really focused on sharing lessons more broadly across the region and providing us a little more capacity to do that convening work. So we should be able to do even more in the years to come.
Thank you very much. I just wanted to, hear that out more fully and very much look forward to an ongoing update as to what that convening is shaping up to be and, what our goals and potential in that arena will be. Again, there's a lot of work to do.
Yeah.
And just knowing where it's happening, being as fluent as you are and participating as a team in that work is really important. Knowing where we need to lead is also important, and simply where we need to gather. So I appreciate the opportunity to hear from you tonight and to hear back as that convening is shaping up. Thanks so much.
Make a note of it.
Mitchell Hansen.
You're on
Oh,
mute.
I'm with you. Sorry.
I'm muted.
Sorry. Yeah, just responding to some of the things that were stated earlier about just like homes and generational wealth. So Mid-Minnesota Legal Aid, I'm fortunate enough to work they have a spot in our office, and they have something called a transfer on death deed. And it's basically for $55, your property can automatically go to your next kin, and you don't have to get a will. It's very affordable and it's very awesome. And I know I've had the privilege of watching like this outstanding lawyer basically just like give peace of mind to so many people. That it's just kind of like all right, let's hold this. We can think about it more, but it's just kind of like, all right, we know this is good for now, and there may be other things coming, but I would just like to say, yeah, I mean that's been one of the coolest things that I've seen utilized is just for such a small fee, you can just kind of get that reassurance that you may not be able to afford for $55, you know. So yeah, I mean, I'd say for partners, Minnesota Legal Aid is a really, really strong one. And yeah, so that's all. Thank you.
Thank you for sharing that. On the topic of partners, I'm not sure if the Met Council has been involved, but the Pollad Family Foundation is undertaking some work to end homelessness. And I've been to some of their convenings. There's been some county folks there, but I don't believe I've seen anyone from the Met Council. So that might be a good space to get engaged into.
Yeah, those are both really good suggestions. Thank you.
All right, I'm not seeing any other committee member hands. So going once. All right. Thank you guys again so much for your wonderful presentation and for, oh, sorry, go ahead, Councilmember Carter.
I'm sorry, I just wanted to appreciate the comments that have been made about resources that exist, you know, particularly the transfer and death process. And those are the kinds of things that perhaps we can take a role in sharing, you know, on our site, or is there some way that we can put up information that will allow people, and I don't know if our site is the best place, but sharing Facebook or something of that sort that will get out into the community, because there are a lot of secrets, you know, and we just need to share more. So I just wanted to make that comment and to thank you all for your knowledge of, and you know, the fact that I know those of us who have the opportunity to talk to people are trying to connect them to resources, but you know, just having a central area, and maybe where organizations share that information and broadcast it so people know the secrets more, would be really, really helpful. I know that exists in other areas, but if Met Council can participate in some way through our communications vehicles, I'd really love that. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Tyrone Carter.
Yeah, I'd just like to say, I did learn quite a bit tonight, and I appreciate concern for the homeless community. And I'm hoping that we are going to be able to have a role as a convener, as Tony Carter so aptly put. So, and also, I was the transfer on deaf deed. I thought that was really great, and the Paulette Foundation's drive to end homelessness, which that was the first I'd heard of that, and that's another rings a big bell for me. So, you know, some nights I just choose to listen. So, you know, that's my something I learned from Nelson Mandela. He said, you listen twice as much as you speak. So some days I just listen, and I learned a lot tonight just listening. And I just wanted to say you guys did a great job, and I appreciate it.
Thank you so much. Again, thank you to our presenters. That will conclude the presentation portion of our meeting. It's a public meeting, so you're welcome to stick around or to pop off if you'd like to. So we've now concluded all of our scheduled agenda items, but before we adjourn for the evening, we'll open the floor for brief announcements from our committee members. I'll remind our council members that this is a great opportunity to share about the things happening in the other committees that you're a part of. Councilmember Pacheco?
Sure, thank you. And thank you all for the presentation and actually the discussion around the presentation. Again, like Dr. Carter said, I do learn some things here. And the other half of that was saying is that I don't learn much while I'm talking. And so you can always remember that. But anyway, so I do appreciate it. On a kind of a crossing note that is a sad one as well, is that I became aware of the homeless action team by the work of Bev Rodriguez and her as a police officer in the Metro Transit here. And she spoke very proudly, and I really understood it. I grew up in the same neighborhood, and unfortunately we lost her. And it has a bigger impact, not only on the street over there, but at the Police Officers Association. She's part of the Latina Police Officers Association. And so, I mean, and it's hard to gain that skill and that history back. And so I just, we got to remind each other that just showing up is important as well. And public service is tough. I mean, we learned a little bit about that, a lot about that with the census murder of Melissa Hartman, the former state representative Melissa Hartman, and the Senator Hoffman and his wife Yvette. And so we learn that these things happen, but we have to take our passion and I hear it in Mitchell's voice and others that we move on and we really continue the work that they would have wanted us to do. But public service is important, and I thank you all for showing up, and I'll show up with you as we address either the homelessness or other issues that faces the Met Council.
Thank you. If anyone else has announcements or updates from other committees, please feel free to use your hand raise feature to. No? All right. So I believe those are all of our announcements then. So we can proceed to adjournment. That concludes our agenda for tonight. So I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
And I second.
All right. So we have a motion by our council member, Dr. Carter. I actually need a second because he was the first.
That's right. I'll make.
If there's no second yet, I will second.
All right. Seconded by our council member, Tony Carter. And all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Great meeting.
All right. With that, we will conclude our meeting for this evening. Thank you all for your participation.
Thank you very much
Thank
for
you.
your
Bye.
leadership.
Enjoyed it.
Thanks, everyone.